Hi, I'm Susie Morgan, founder and director of training at Precision EMDR Academy, and I am here with Danielle Hiestand today. And she is one of our faculty or assisting faculty at Precision EMDR, and she's an incredible clinician and pretty much a genius. Um, So I have just profound respect for who she is as a human being, as well as her intellect. And she is talking today about self-care. And I don't want you to immediately stop the recording and be like, I don't need that, because that's what I would do. I nobody got time for that. I'm busy. It is the holidays. We are doing things. I have a practice to run, I have a business to run, blah, 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 the life, whatever. However, this is critical. And so what she is talking about is a topic that I think it is so easy to skip over, but is so critical if we are actually going to be excellent at our work, that we are understanding the impact of how we take care of this vessel for what we're able to provide for our clients. And so what I want to do today is go over a few things with her. First of all, just her objections, just from her own personal story, her own self, like why she would have said, ain't nobody got time for that. And what caused her to say, I have to take time for this. And then beyond that, what is this connection that she's seen between the impact on clinicians and the care that they provide based on what they provide for themselves, and then subsequently how that impacts client client care, but client outcomes as well? And what are specific things that are her favorites? Now, in her course that she has hosted with Precision EMDR Academy, she goes into all of the science behind this, all of these really rich methods that have profound evidence-based backing. But I want her to talk about her favorites, her own personal favorites, and perhaps things that as you go into the holidays, or if you're listening to this later, you can still implement in your daily life that would make a difference. So let's get started. So first, I just want Danielle to say a bit about herself and her qualifications, her resume a bit.
Sure thing. Well, thanks for having me, Susie. I can say I've never been called a genius before, so that's why I was like, whoa. But it felt good. Yeah. Um, so let's see. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have a PsyD, Doctor of Psychology. I'm a certified eating disorder specialist and consultant, and an EMDR consultant and facilitator. And so my area of expertise and specialty started in eating disorders. And then I saw pretty quickly that most of my clients had a trauma history. And so then I got really involved in trauma-informed care, EMDR, trained and certified. Within that, I also saw a good chunk of them also had dissociative symptoms going on, at times dissociative disorder. So I got more training in that as well. I also am really passionate about teaching. So I was an adjunct professor for UCSD, University of California, San Diego, where I got to teach about eating disorders and stress. I did stress management at SDSU, San Diego State University. That was a fun one to teach undergrads. I've also taught at Alliant International University as well, where I did my grad work actually. So that was fun to go back there and teach some grad classes. I did write a textbook actually for undergrads for the eating disorder course because there wasn't one. And so instead of just having a reader, it felt important to have a textbook that really was guiding the students along and making it more cohesive, the whole course, seeing the whole picture. Now I have a private practice in San Diego where I do virtual and in-person treatment. And I'm in the process of training my dog to be a therapy dog. So he'll soon be in the office with me, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, that's me.
Why I said you're a genius.
I'm busy. Yeah.
Incredible, incredible list of accomplishments, but also really profound depth of expertise in each of those areas. So in accomplishing all of that, that is a lot of work. So
Mhm.
I imagine that there is a story behind this in terms of a progression of you realizing your own self-care was important. So let's start though with just historically, what have you found is the biggest obstacle for you for engaging in things that would take care of you while you're off and running doing all of these things?
Yes, making the time. So I think it's easy for me and probably others to keep kind of pushing it like, okay, yeah, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or I'll do that on my lunch break. I'll do that after dinner, and then you're exhausted. I'm exhausted. And so I learned at some point that I've actually always known I'm not a morning person. So like doing some of these things in the morning, I would much rather just stay in bed or slowly drink my coffee, which can be its own self-care too. And then the end of the day, I just want to be warm and snuggy in bed and wind down. So I don't want to necessarily be doing something with active consciousness and intention. So I'm like middle of the day person for both exercise and self-care, but we're often working, or there's family stuff, or you're running errands. And so it was just finding a way to carve out some time in the middle of the day and then sticking to it. Um, because it's easy to keep pushing it a little, okay, yes, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. And I think the other obstacle is forgetting that it doesn't actually take that much time. So as much as I'm pushing it, it's like maybe the thing I want to do is like 5 minutes. So what's 5 minutes? I could just pause and do what I need to do. So that reminder of it might feel like I'm really shifting gears um, and getting away from a task. But actually then if I do this 5, 10 minute thing, I'll probably actually be more focused and efficient with what I was trying to do originally. So thinking like rethinking of self-care and the time it takes to do it was really helpful.
What made you start rethinking these things? What caused you to move this to kind of the front of a priority list for you, so much so that now you teach about it?
Um, yeah, probably. I mean, initially just getting busier and busier with life. I think before having children, it was manageable to give so much to work and school and then still have time for self-care and exercise and socializing. And it was kind of built in sometimes into work too. Like I could hang out with coworkers, friends after a day of work, right? And get that connection time. But with kids, I needed to get home. So adding to my plate, but then still working roughly the same amount. And then giving more and more to other people. So what it's clients, but also family. And so initially not stopping to think about, wait, I really have to do things differently because I've added in this huge piece that's so important to me, but also takes a significant amount of time. Um, and so initially just even seeing like I want to be more present and grounded for my kids. Like I want them to get my best self. Not just clients get the best self, right? And so looking at what do I need to do to make sure I'm rested and present and engaged with them. And they're not getting my irritability because I'm tired or burned out. And then later on, I had a pretty big event happen in my practice that really caused kind of an abrupt pause for me to slow down and look at, okay, how am I approaching things and doing things and practicing? Is this all still with conscious intention, or have I just fallen into some patterns now? Like, am I in survival mode in a way? Like why do I do it this way? Where is this coming from? And even though everything can still be perfectly ethical and legal and I'm checking all the boxes, um, things can fall through the cracks when we're not really evaluating our own stuff and what's coming up for us. I was getting consultation, going to trainings, and trying to be constantly learning. I was collaborating with other professionals on the team, all these things. And everything, all the feedback I'm getting is like, doing good, right? And so at some point realizing, am I sharing everything I need to share in these spaces and in consultation? Am I holding back? Am I avoiding things? Like, I don't know. I need to slow down and figure it out. And I think we all do this to some degree. It's unconscious for the most part. And so part of it is making it conscious. And um, even though prior to all this, I was aware and really interested in self-help therapist. I was on the track to be a supervisor with marriage and family therapy for a while. So I was taking courses and supervising trainees and all that. And that was one area where I really wanted the clinician to connect to that piece of self of therapist. Who are you? Why are you here? What are you bringing into your work with the client? How does the work impact you in the moment and afterwards? What does that tell you about yourself? What are you needing? All these pieces. And I think I had lost my connection to that thought process of let me slow down and like, how did my day go? And do I want anything to be different? Um, what was that reaction I felt in the session? Is that me? Was that my stuff? Was that my story, or was that something the client was bringing in? And so all those things I just started to think about more and wanted to read about more and explore more. Because I do think it's really vital. Like we bring ourselves into the work and we have to be conscious about it.
So to clarify this what you started to realize was this idea of, yeah, you are checking all the boxes. You're doing more than what a lot of us do in terms of going to consultation, constant trainings, constantly putting your work up for discussion. But
Mhm.
there wasn't as much of that sort of vulnerable self-reflection around like, what is my internal experience that is connecting up to what's happening
Mhm.
in the session? Or how is that? What am I needing to acknowledge about my own responses or reactions or impact of maybe working with this particular client or this particular situation or whatever it is having on me? And
Mhm.
am I talking about that, but also then am I taking care of myself well enough in that to do the kind of work that needs to be done for my client as well as for myself?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, taking care of myself and also prioritizing more of my needs in a work setting was another shift. As clinicians, I don't think we're really often empowered to do that. And a lot of people are in a setting where they just can't, like they don't get to choose their clients. So I was in private practice, so I am, and I do have that flexibility to a degree. And so looking at, wait, is there areas that I don't really want to be working in anymore? Or maybe I didn't ever want to work with this. I just, started to, and I kept going with it. And so again, kind of slowing down to ask the questions and really be okay with what was coming up. Like, what does it say about me? Or what changes do I need to make? How do I start to vocalize these changes I want to make in my practice? How do I reconfigure my intake calls to be clear about clients I'm going to be accepting into my practice? Right. And so these things happened over time. It wasn't like all at once, um, but it's a combination of taking care of self, but also the boundary setting. And I think they'll go hand in hand. As you're taking care of yourself, you're going to feel stronger to set the boundaries you need to be the clinician you ideally want to be.
I think what you're saying is so powerful because this isn't about lighting a candle and having a nice, sit by the fire or take a good bath or whatever it is. This is so much more critical to things that are insidious in our field. That number one, a lot of us who go into the field are like just natural born people pleasers. We are the nurturers, we are the caretakers.
Mhm.
And then it feels like there's an intrinsic responsibility that whatever my client needs or wants, I need to show up for. I need to to
Yeah.
do that, and I'm responsible for whether or not they can afford to see me, whether or not like
Oh.
how can I fit it, like make my schedule work for them, or I don't want them to feel bad about X, Y, and Z in terms of a cancellation policy or this or that. And so it's let alone like someone wants to see me, but that's not just my area of expertise, but I don't enjoy this work. It taxes me in a deep way that something else doesn't tax me. And,
Hmm.
and so all of those things feel like things that we as a profession almost endorse. Like we're supposed to be the caretakers of the world at our own
Hmm.
expense and at whatever expense.
Hmm.
And so you're saying like that's really critical that we're not engaging in and that we're really looking for our own personal um, I'm struggling to find the words here, but like our own sense of internal compass for what is our best way to sustain this practice and do good work
Hmm.
by navigating all of that thoughtfully.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like the compass analogy, and I think it's having all the pieces there because I was thinking about like, yeah, I think I thought I had this compass that I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. It's telling me to go here, so now I'm going to do this. But it's like I didn't have all the readings I needed
Mm.
on the compass. I didn't have all the I needed another device or something. I don't know. I needed GPS or something, something to kind of highlight. And I had to create that. Like I don't, that's just again, like you're saying, it's not built into our field to really slow down and be and ask ourselves what do we need? Do we like what we're doing? Do we want to keep doing it? I really appreciate you bringing up the financial component because I think that's really highlights one of the major differences in our field, and that we do feel this responsibility to make therapy accessible to all people. And so we're the ones who would adjust what we earn so that somebody could get care. And I don't really see other professions doing that at the level that we do. And I think most of us, we even within that, like we have like we'll have a couple sliding scale slots or some. I mean, there's a lot of people who accept insurance, and but it really impacts their income. It impacts their quality of life, and how much they work and where they work, all these things. So yeah, it's really important to see all these angles of what we're talking about.
And it can come off as something that is really a good thing that we are providing.
Hmm. We get
The,
a lot of accolades, yeah.
and we get a lot of shaming if we don't.
Hmm.
And so I think that that's something that that we as a field need to think about. And I think you bringing this aspect into the idea about self-care is pretty critical
Hmm.
because the the resentment we can have towards our clients, the exhaustion that can impact the quality of work, like on down the line, like there's so many ways in which us not being able to make a sustainable income
Hmm.
can create a ripple effect, it
Yes,
seems.
I totally agree.
So, switching gears though, is there any other way that our not taking care of ourselves seems to impact our clients? We're talking a bit about that, but like if we're not paying attention to these things, what do you see happens? And is there any kind of personal story in that where you're just like, this is the link between me and my attending to these very critical aspects of well-being and how that impacts the care.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the word we're talking about here is burnout, right? And so, um, for me, this was another shift after having kids where before I could probably see 6 to 7 clients in a day. I would do 55-minute sessions. And then really feeling like the last client of the day wasn't getting my best work. And it just felt icky because I was like, that's not fair. Like that to me is a sign I'm not at a place where I can see 6 or 7 clients in a day. And so I scaled back to do 5 clients a day and then finding, okay, I can't really do that. I was always doing 4 days a week, but is now that doesn't feel good either. So scaling back to 3 days. And I completely understand that, again, not all people have this kind of flexibility where they can make these kinds of decisions with scheduling. Um, but I did increase my rates to help, and I hadn't increased them in years because again, another component of being a therapist and feeling bad about increasing rates, even by like $5 or whatever it may be. But just looking at the whole picture of like, okay, how do I make this work? Or how do I bring in other sources of income that don't take the same type of energy? So I can still be a clinician and do this work, and I can maybe supplement in ways that maybe even energize me. And that was teaching for me. Like I really enjoy that. And so just trying to find balance in like how many hours can I be a clinician and do good work, and then how many hours am I doing other projects and things. Um, I think just in the sessions too, noticing like if I'm feeling tired, if I'm more easily distracted, my emotional responses to clients, if I have this sense like feeling of like boredom or frustration, disengagement, I want to know that. I want to label it internally and not if and previously not doing that, like you're saying, kind of some of this resentment or frustration or essentially burnout, right? Like I'm burnt out. That's why I'm feeling this. This isn't my normal, like authentic clinician self, right? So knowing the work I do on myself will help me be more present with the client, engaged, and definitely not bored. Like that's I'm usually never bored with my work. But so when I start to feel that like I want to kind of zone out or I want to disconnect in some way with what's being shared, like those are all cues for me now to reflect afterwards and be like, what was that about? What was that? What was I kind of being triggered in a way? Am I doing too much in my life? And that is now showing up in my work. Am I having any kind of secondary traumatic stress happening? So that's another component of this topic we're going over is that buildup of hearing trauma stories, for years. And that really, again, can take a toll. And there's no preparation in grad school for that whatsoever. And it's kind of baffling, like, when we really think about what, or, usually young people going into this field, and we're like, here's some of the worst things you could possibly imagine. And be totally okay.
One of my favorite bits of research is the idea that efficacy actually is one of the most critical aspects of self-care in it's an interesting thing to frame it as self-care, but in that ability to avoid burnout or avoid secondary traumatic stress. The idea being that the more effective we are and we're able to ride those waves of trauma through to the other side and actually see someone feel better and feel
Mhm.
resolved and move can actually sustain us. And so as I'm thinking about what you're saying right now, I just immediately am going into the idea of how grateful I am to have been an EMDR therapist for as many years in
Oh,
hearing those stories because
yeah.
and I suppose this is a plug for any of you who are not EMDR therapists, but and it can seem counterintuitive that doing more training when we're talking about self-care is actually a form of self-care. But I think
Mhm.
training in things that make you more effective is a form of self-care for sustainability in this. And so I'm curious for you in your experience, what has been most helpful for you? You've shared some of the self-reflection and some of the work and all of that, but like what else
Mhm.
for you makes a big difference that maybe someone who's listening could be taking home and saying like, okay, like I'm gonna implement that right away. And I don't want you to share all your secrets from your course, but like maybe a couple.
Yeah, well, the a big piece is polyvagal theory. And you don't have to have I mean, I of course go get trained in polyvagal theory. It's amazing, but you don't have to necessarily be trained and know the underpinnings of all of that to use it. One of the things from polyvagal is glimmers. And so this is the idea of just looking for these small little moments or sensations, experiences in your day, and you're just trying to spend a moment with it or highlight it or draw attention to it. And it really goes a long way. And so I mentioned coffee earlier, right? So I like one of the thoughts in my head that gets me out of bed is like, I get to have coffee. So like, and I have this fun espresso machine I got last year for Christmas, and it has a steamer, and I got my honey actually that you gave me, Susie. And I'll put some like little honey and I make a whole fun latte. But then I just kind of sit with that and smell it. And I really try to think about what emotion comes up, what is my body feeling, just drawing out that moment a bit longer because I really love the smell of coffee. And that's like 30 seconds. Like it's just this little moment where I'm like, oh yay, this joy in my life. you know. Um, Glimmers can be, the sun, clouds, a leaf falling, smiles from people, laughs that you hear. I mean, my kids say some really funny things. And so like those are little glimmers because I'm like, oh, I just love the way your little mind works. Um, Pets, huge glimmers, pets. I mean, it's very personal to the person. So it's a matter of just like really looking for them and then drawing attention to it. And when you do that, you're going to notice more. And it won't feel as like this conscious intention you have to do. It's just going to start to become part of your day. Just like how a lot of us automatically, and our brains are set up this way to notice negative things. It's protective, right? And so we want to balance some of that out, that we're not always kind of noticing what went wrong, but we're also noticing, oh, that worked out really well, or like, that session felt really good. Like I'm like, I like what I did there, right? Like that was cool, whatever it might be. And within this still umbrella of polyvagal theory, it's knowing the signals your body is giving you. And I think this is really important in sessions, especially. And so, um, when speaking of like feeling tired in a session, what I try to do initially is also look at is that telling me something about my client? And then maybe it's telling me something about myself too, or just myself. But reading that sensation, that feeling as, is my client maybe dissociating? Like is there something happening that I am sensing, that's not being like verbally shared with me, but I'm sensing, or it's nonverbal, or I'm actually experiencing. And I'll feel that sometimes where I'm really tight, like I'm all like, and I'm like, oh, but okay. And then I kind of reassess what's going on with me and the client, and I'm like, oh, I think they're really distressed right now, or they're like grin and bearing it, or whatever it might be. Like I'm going to take a step back, or I'm going to check in with them, and just maybe we need a pause, or whatever it might be. And so really trusting the signals in my body, and I'd go as far as to say intuition, and check in with your client, um, and then so it's honoring it. And I would say honoring what you're picking up on is your own form of self-care too. You're caring for yourself and respecting what your body is telling you and doing something with it.
I love that for the long term in terms of just the application clinically, but also just right now going into the holidays, just how much of a gift that could be as we're all navigating family and too muchness and all of these different things is just that invitation to, yes, look for the glimmers, but also pay attention internally and then make adjustments
Mm-hmm.
on that and letting that be something that you have permission to to notice as well as respond to.
Mm-hmm.
That matters, that you matter. It's
Mm-hmm.
in the midst
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
everyone else mattering too.
Well, I love how you just said that because it made me think about all the training is about tracking our clients,
Hmm.
right? When very important. Yes,
Yeah.
we do that. And Like where was the training on how we track ourselves? Like I don't know. I mean, I went to school a while ago now, but I haven't heard of anyone getting that in grad school. So yeah.
Yeah. And so that is why people should continue on with sitting with you for a more intensive, longer training, I believe. I believe that the opportunity you've given for people to learn from you in more depth is just a huge gift to them. And so can you tell us more about where to find out about your course and then also your practice, or if someone wanted to work with you as a consultant for either either EMDR or eating disorders, correct?
Yes, yeah. Well, so okay, so the webinar is it's 6.5 CEs and also EMDRIA approved EMDRIA CEs, and which is exciting. Like you can get EMDRIA for this because it's trauma informed. And the webinar is available now on the Precision EMDR website, and so I'm sure. I imagine there's going to be links for people to click on. And so you can sign up for the course there. And one of the pieces that I haven't mentioned yet here is that it's set up for you to do a self-reflection process as you take the class, which you'll have to hold yourself accountable for because I'm going to ask people as they're watching it, pause the webinar, answer this question, journal, draw, take a moment, think about it, whatever works. But there's no one there saying, "Wait, did you really apply this to yourself?" So I would ask people to make sure they're comfortable with that, and then you'll put the webinar back on and keep going, with the training and so on. But I personally really like that piece because I need that too, like where the trainer or whatever I'm doing like guides me to pause and like literally pause the video right here, right now. And then I'm going to do it instead of like, oh, when you're done with the training, go answer these questions, kind of thing. It's like, I'm probably not going to do that. So, in terms of me, my practice is in San Diego. I can do virtual in California. Um, and my website is, I imagine that might be a link somewhere too, but drdaniellehiestand.com. And I do EMDR consultation as well as consultation for eating disorder cases. You don't have to be EMDR trained. There is a certification through IADEPT. It's the International Association of Eating Disorder Professionals that I am a consultant for. And so if people are wanting to become a certified eating disorder specialist, they have to get a certain number of hours of consultation. And so I'm one of the people out there who could meet with them and provide that consultation. And if you're somebody who's EMDR trained or getting into EMDR and works with eating disorders, then, you know, added bonus. I get to help you with both, all of that. And if clinicians just looking even to grow in what we're talking about here and understanding self of therapist more and how it impacts the work and what are they bringing into those sessions that might be unconscious and wanting to learn and understand that more.
That is such a wealth of opportunities and avenues in which people can work with you. And I want to plug one more, which is you are very often a part of our basic trainings with Precision
Mhm.
EMDR. And so when people are signing up for our basic trainings, they have the opportunity to choose their preferences. And the earlier they sign up, the more likely they are to get matched with their preferred consultant. So if someone is really resonating with you who's listening right now and they're saying, yes, like these are my areas of focus too, and just really like Danielle, and I want to absorb things from her brain. I really, I think she's an incredible gift. And so that's just one more way in which you can connect up and start a mentoring relationship as well. So anyways, I just want to thank you for having this conversation today. And I'm really, really excited about the depth of quality of what you're offering as in this course, as well as just in general as a part of our team. And so just thank you for today. And yes, everybody, You can reach out to us using the links that are here in, in the notes. And if you have questions or comments, feel free to share them. You can also find us on Instagram at Precision EMDR, and also what is your Instagram, Danielle?
Oh, it's just Dr. Danielle Hiestand, my name.
So, and we usually are tagged on everything together. So if you
Yeah.
find one of us, you can find the other. So, anyways, thank you so much. And I hope people take this to heart and that they dig in deeper with everything that you have to share.
Yeah, well, thank you, Susie. I really appreciate you having me here, inviting me to do this. It's really fun to have these conversations with you. And now that knowing people get to hear our conversations like this, because we do this like just us sometimes.
Yes.
And so now it's like others can like learn and grow too. This is cool.
So we'll have more to come. So,
Yeah, sounds
all
good.
right, we'll talk soon.